emotional about the hounding of the press and the paparazzi and how they were making her life miserable. So I think I did my job.
Matt Lauer was America's most trusted morning anchor, earning $25 million a year on NBC's Today Show. But behind the cameras was a dark secret that would destroy everything. In November 2017, a single complaint changed his life forever. Within 24 hours, he was fired and banned from NBC. Then came the shocking details. A secret button under his desk. Multiple victims and allegations that went back decades. The man who woke up millions of Americans would never work again. Today, we're revealing what really happened and how he's living now. Matt Lauer was born on December 30th, 1957, right in the heart of New York City. His background was far from ordinary. His father, J. Robert Lauer, worked as an executive at a bicycle company and came from Romanian Jewish roots. His mother, Marilyn Culmer, had been a model and ran her own boutique. Matt was raised between two very different worlds. One was shaped by immigrant values and work ethic. The other was all about image, style, and public presence. These early influences stayed with him. They helped him become adaptable, polished, and aware of how the world sees you. Important skills for someone who would later speak to millions on live television. Matt wasn't the first in his family to step into the spotlight. His grandfather, Art Gentry, had been a professional singer. He wasn't a household name, but he performed during the golden age of music, and young Matt was often there watching. Seeing his grandfather command a stage made a deep impression. It wasn't just entertainment. It was about how to connect with an audience. Matt absorbed everything. He learned how to carry himself, how to stay composed, and how to speak in a way that made people listen. These lessons came long before any journalism classes and would later define his on-air style. In the late 1970s, Matt enrolled at Ohio University. He chose communications as his major and was on track to graduate. But in 1979, when he was just 21, he made a bold move. He dropped out just 4 credits short of finishing his degree. He didn't wait around for a diploma. He wanted real experience, and he got it. His first job was as a news producer at Walk-In, Huntington, West Virginia. It wasn't glamorous, but it was the start. And Matt wasn't just punching the clock. He worked hard, learned fast, and made himself useful. Within a year, he was reporting on camera and had even landed his own talk show segment. That early promotion to on-air reporter in 1980, when he was just 22, showed how fast he was moving. It was unusual for someone so young, especially without a degree. But Matt wasn't typical. He jumped into the deep end, handling both the 6 p.m. and 11 p.m. newscasts in a mid-sized market. These weren't puff pieces. It was live news under pressure. Matt's calm presence, even as a beginner, started turning heads. He didn't just want a job in TV. He wanted to master it. From 1980 to 1986, Matt co-hosted PM Magazine in 3 different cities. First Richmond, then Providence, and finally New York City. It was rare for a host to move markets like that, especially with success each time. PM Magazine was a fast-paced mix of local stories, celebrity segments, and lifestyle content. It wasn't easy to pull off, especially in a different tone for each region. But Matt did. He adjusted, learned what each audience wanted, and became more polished with every move. His time on the New York edition of the show gave him exposure in the country's biggest media market. It was a huge step forward. In 1986, Matt got his first real shot at national television. ABC launched a show called Fame, Fortune, and Romance, a spin-off of lifestyles of the rich and famous. He co-hosted it with Robin Leach, known for his dramatic voice and tours of celebrity mansions. The show was flashy and indulgent, showing off yachts, private jets, and the lives of billionaires. It didn't last long, less than a year, but it put Matt in front of viewers across the country. He wasn't just a regional name anymore. He was starting to break through. By the late 1980s, Matt was doing something almost no one else could manage. He was working in multiple cities at the same time. From 1987 to 1989, he juggled local hosting gigs in Philadelphia and Boston, while also working for ESPN and HBO. He'd report on sports like the Stanley Cup Finals for ESPN and cover entertainment segments for HBO. It meant long hours, constant travel, and very little sleep. People in the industry noticed he was everywhere. Some even joked that he lived at the airport. But that grind paid off. He built a reputation as someone who could do it all. News, sports, entertainment, and do it well. Matt Lauer's time on 9 Broadcast Plaza between 1989 and 1991 wasn't just another local news job. The show ran 3 hours live every day on WWTV in New York. And it didn't take long for things to get strange. Producers started bringing in more wild and controversial guests, trying to ride the wave of early 90s shock TV culture. Lauer didn't like the direction. He clashed with the producers often and even refused to read live ads for a Dial mattress sponsor, which was rare for someone still building a name. His time there ended abruptly, and when he quit, people like Weird Al Yankovic and Howard Stern briefly took over hosting. That same show later transformed into The Richard Bay Show, which became infamous for things like lie detector tests and Miss Big Butt contests. It went off the rails, but Lauer had already walked away. By 1992, he was almost out of money. He had no regular TV job and was close to bouncing a rent check. Then WNBC TV gave him a lifeline. He was hired to co-anchor Today in New York with Jane Hansen. The show aired early in the morning, but it was enough to get him back on his feet. Just a year later, he was promoted to co-anchor Live at 5, one of the station's prime evening spots. He worked both shows for a while, sometimes appearing on 3 different NBC programs in the same day. The long hours paid off. He gained a reputation for being smooth, dependable, and surprisingly warm for a newsman. His energy stood out. He brought a human touch to stiff formats and made connections with NBC executives. Those early WNBC years helped him get noticed on a national level. Between 1992 and 1997, Lauer became the guy NBC could call for anything. He filled in on Weekend Today, NBC News at sunrise, and even NBC Nightly News when Tom Brokaw was away. His schedule was brutal. He'd be doing weather at dawn, midday news by lunch, and prime news at night. It didn't matter. He kept showing up and doing it well. Within NBC, his name became synonymous with reliability. People noticed his ability to jump into any role without flinching. He wasn't flashy, but he was versatile and consistent. Those years built trust with top executives. That trust led to a turning point in January 1994, when he was named full-time news anchor for the Today Show. From that point, his rise was fast and steady. Even with his growing fame, there was one thing Lauer hadn't finished: his college degree. He had left Ohio University almost 20 years earlier, just 4 credits short. In 1997, at the age of 39, he finally went back. The university's president invited him not only to finish his degree, but also to give the commencement speech. Instead of taking traditional classes, Lauer wrote a paper about how his television career related to what he had studied. That summer, he walked across the stage with the class of 1997, nearly 2 decades after his peers. For him, it wasn't just symbolic, it was something personal. He later said that moment gave him more pride than many of his career achievements. 2 years later, in 1999, Ohio University's Alumni Association awarded him the Medal of Merit in recognition of his work and the inspiration he gave to other late finishers. Matt Lauer's story at NBC began on June 13, 1994, when he officially stepped into the role of news anchor for the Today Show. The show was struggling at the time, losing viewers to Good Morning America. NBC needed a change, and Lauer's presence was exactly that. He wasn't stiff like most network anchors. He had a warmth that made people feel like he belonged in their living room. Within 3 years, he helped turn the tide. Viewers started coming back. He mixed hard news with celebrity interviews in a way that felt new and natural. NBC quickly noticed. They had him fill in for big names like Brian Gumbel and Tom Brokaw. That kind of trust wasn't usually given to someone so new. But Lauer proved he could handle it. By the time he became co-anchor, his Q rating had soared. He wasn't just popular. He was one of the most bankable names NBC had. In those early years, Lauer built strong relationships with his co-hosts. But it wasn't always easy. Working with veterans like Bryant Gumbel meant learning how to share space on camera and off. Gumbel was known to be controlling. Lauer didn't fight it head-on. Instead, he used humor and charm. With Katie Couric, the chemistry was natural, and the show became a morning ritual for millions. He also covered major events like the Oklahoma City bombing and the O.J. Simpson trial, proving he could handle serious journalism. On January 6, 1997, Lauer was promoted to co-anchor and handled the pressure successfully, helping the show achieve record ratings. Over the years, he became the face of the program, interviewing presidents, celebrities, and covering global events. He also worked on Dateline NBC for 2 decades, expanding into investigative journalism. In his personal life, he married Dutch model Annette Rowe in 1998, and they had 3 children. However, their marriage faced struggles, and she filed for divorce in 2006, later withdrawing it to try counseling. They stayed together publicly for years, but eventually divorced in 2019. The scandal that destroyed his career began in 2014 during the Sochi Olympics, when an NBC employee accused him of sexual assault. In 2017, NBC fired him after an investigation, and more allegations followed. Reports revealed disturbing behavior over many years, including abuse of power and misconduct in the workplace. NBC terminated him immediately without severance. After the firing, he disappeared from public life, living quietly in the Hamptons in a luxury estate. His marriage ended, and later allegations were detailed in Ronan Farrow's book Catch and Kill, which he denied. In 2020, he responded with an open letter denying criminal wrongdoing, but admitting mistakes. As of 2025, he lives a quiet life between the Hamptons and New Zealand, financially secure with a net worth around $80 million. He later began a private relationship with Shaman Abbas, and after years of isolation, he has slowly reconnected with friends and family, living away from the public spotlight.